Raise the Roof Production.
Well, you'll never know the heartache of looking a grown man in the eye, and he asks, am I gonna make it? And you've got to lie. Well, they call me Doc, but I ain't got no degree. When shit hits the fan, they're calling for me. From bluegrass Kentucky, with red blood on my hands, nobody calls me hero except for my friends. Yeah, they call me Doc.
Hello, fellow veterans and American patriots. Welcome to another episode of Sick Call with Doc. I'm your host, Rad Doc Walbeck. With me always, Joe Misfit Glenn, Combat Army Medic. And then behind the scenes, our button pusher, Brian Devil Dog Roof. Today's a really cool day because Joe and I have not had the experience to do this. With us today, we have a newer discharged veteran. This gentleman did 20 plus years. Please welcome to the show, Master Sgt Muzquiz. Felipe Muzquiz. How you doing, brother?
Doing amazing. Thank you.
Sorry,
appreciate
man.
the opportunity.
I'm used to it. My last name gets hacked all the time, bro. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm glad you're here, brother. I'm glad that we got a hold of you so soon after being discharged. I know you and Joe have had some conversations. Gonna put you in the right place now, not 15 years from now, not 10 years from now, now. And so Joe and I are extremely excited for that, brother. Felipe, welcome to the show, bro.
Appreciate
Welcome,
it.
man.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So,
Felipe, real quick, man, right off the bat, the biggest thing that I guess I'm excited for, like Rod said, is that you're newly released from the military. And so with, being a lifer, having the 20, plus years, I thank you for that. Thank you for your service and welcome home. But after you get into your little story, man, we got to touch on how you landed coming out, right? We talked a little bit about that, man. And I think that is such a powerful, moving story that a lot of these veterans see these kind of things, man. It's a beautiful story you've got. All right.
Yep.
Cool.
Well,
anyway, Felipe and I got the memo, but Joe didn't. No. I'm kidding. Go ahead, Felipe. Sorry, man.
oh man, I think my camera's out of focus. There we go.
No, you're good.
Look good, man.
Yeah, no, awesome shirt. I just got it in the mail yesterday. I love the cause.
Hell
love
yeah.
the for 0 a day.
0 a day.
Yeah.
David
0 a
Zuckerman.
day. Okay,
So-
brother. It's all you, man.
All right. Well, I guess I'll start off from the beginning. I actually came from the traditional Mexican household. For everybody that knows me, I got 2 first names, 2 last names. So, it's complicated as fuck trying to figure out what to call me. I actually go by my middle name in the States because my first name would probably give people an aneurysm. My last name, Muzquiz, is hard enough. But my actual first name, what I go by with my family and everything, is Cuauhtemoc, which I'm named after the last of the Aztec rulers. So that's a pretty awesome backstory for me. I love
That's
it.
sweet.
Yeah, like growing up, my dad used to get me all kind of memorabilia from that guy. Like I have a bronze statue of the guy holding a spear. I got like coins and bills and books and everything with like of that Aztec and everything and the story behind him. So it was
Sweet.
It was a pretty unique
Great
name.
heritage. That's
I really
beautiful.
loved it. Yeah. And like I said, traditional, strict Mexican household. Dad, firm hand. I'm not gonna lie, I deserved it. I wasn't a great kid, but I wasn't a bad kid either. I was in between, so I got my beatings as a kid and everything. Honestly, I never thought that I was gonna join the military. I was always like, man, the military is for like the dumb people was like people that can't do anything with themselves. It's just like it's like a cop out. You don't want to do it. And whatever. I hated the military growing up. It's like you couldn't catch, like I wouldn't be caught dead with anything related to the military.
What?
And my older sister, she's 4 years older than me. She was like gun ho. She was in ROTC. She got offered scholarships. She was like just what is it? The rifle team and like the color guard and all that kind of shit that she was doing in high school. And so you figure she was the one that was going to go off to the military, and me, I was just going to go off to college and do my thing. And about 2 years of college later, I'm like, where do I sign? Well, I walked into the recruiter station. I'm like, hey, I want to sign up. I want to go and everything. I had taken the pre-ASVAB in high school. And what is it? I got a 91 on the ASVAB. So I was like, hey, man, like, I just want to go to MEP, sign me up and like ship me out. So I had some personal stuff I'd rather not talk about going on at that time. And went back and forth with my recruiter, took me up to MEPS. I got a 93. And they're like, oh, shit. It's like, you can do any job you want in the military. They brought out a book. I'm not kidding. Like that big of every single MOS in the military. And I'm like, hell yeah. It's like, even though at the time I was only a resident, I wasn't a U.S. citizen yet. And I was born in Mexico and raised in the States, back and forth kind of thing. So it's like I didn't get my citizenship till later. And I'm like, oh, cool. Like I can pick any job, even though I'm just a resident. The guy's like, oh, shit, my bad. He comes back with something thinner than this magazine. I was like, oh, you can pick these. And I wound up picking mechanic. And I'm like, you know what? I was like, if I'm going to join the military, I might as, and I have a very limited field of what I can pick. And it's like, well, I'm going to pick something that I'm good at, something I grew up doing, and something that I enjoy. At the time, it was a 63 Bravo light wheel mechanic. So I figured, all right, cool. I'm going to be working on Humvees, like diesel Humvees and everything. It's like, so this is going to translate great into the civilian world. I'm going to do one contract, get out, be a mechanic, and have a life. Well, went through basic, went through AIT. Believe it or not, in basic training, I was actually the guy that got made an example out of. I had glasses, and if anybody's ever had prescription glasses from like the BCGs from basic training, the prescription's always wrong. Like you will never get a good prescription in basic training. Like fuck no. So it was like, I was sitting there freaking, and I put my glasses on so I can see the board. Just put my glass on top of my head so I can write down. Drill sergeant comes over and snatches the glasses off my head. For my first instinct, I stood up and I was ready to fight him. I squared up on my drill sergeant. My first and last mistake in basic. Grabbed me by the freaking collar, drug me to the back of the room. Literally, they took turns smoking the piss out of me. First sergeant got in on it. Our lieutenant got in on it. That motherfucker had no business doing
what was he doing?
That fucking butterbar was in there talking shit. I wanted to smack. But I was like, and I was talking shit the whole time. The whole time they were smoking.
While they were smoking you?
Oh yeah. I don't know. I wasn't a good soldier at the beginning. So it was like they're smoking me, and I'm like, oh yeah. It's like, oh, are you ready to quit? You ready to quit? I'm like, fuck you. You're gonna quit first. I'm over there falling on my face because I can't do push-ups anymore, and they got me doing crunches and flutter kicks and freaking frog kick, the whole 9 yards. I'm just like, sweating a puddle on the floor. Needless to say, never did that again. Didn't square up on a drill sergeant again.
You lost.
I lost. I took my licks and I got smart, and so I became the guy that was like volunteering for everything in basic. And it was like every time Joe said, "Hey, we need something," it was like me and my group of misfits because there was like 4 or 5 of us, and we were essentially like also the more physically fit ones in the group for unknown reasons. I don't know. You can speculate on that one, but needless to say, we could do a plethora of push-ups. But it worked out in the end. I remember my favorite memory from basic training. We had just done our final FTX, and it was the same group of misfits because they never had us have cake or ice cream or cookies, desserts, nothing. They would always take everything from us. We get back, and the drill sergeant already picked us out. He's like, hey, guys, we need you to go throw all this leftover food, all the desserts out in the dumpster. And we had a dumpster literally right in front of our basic training building. We're like, all right, cool. So we grab our stuff, like all the trash, and we start walking towards it. And the drill sergeant's like, no, not that dumpster. Go use the one over there behind the defect. And so it's already nighttime. It's dark as hell. We're grumbling. Why the hell did drill sergeant making us walk all the way over here behind the defect? It was like a 5-minute walk to the defect. It wasn't a big deal, but we're exhausted from the road march back. And we get there, and we're about to throw away all these unopened desserts, cakes, pies, brownies, cookies, everything. And we're like looking around. It's dark. There's no lights back there. You can't see our barracks buildings from where we were at. We freaking just bricked open the desserts and went to town. Threw everything away, came back a few minutes later. Drill sergeant's like, everything get thrown away properly? He's like, Roger, drill. Like, all right, cool. And then he turns around and he's like, hey, you got something right here. Freaking coming back with crumbs on our faces. But I guess that was his way of rewarding us for being good the whole time that we were there the rest of the time.
That's what's up.
You got a mulligan.
Yeah. He gave us a freebie. He's like, here's your reward. Yeah. AIT, we had a competition in AIT. It was 187 Ordnance, Charlie Company, 187, and out of Fort Jackson. And I remember a couple of weeks in, we had a competition called Ordnance Warrior, and we freaking swept the floor with all the other freaking companies. It was just different events, land nav, freaking like knowledge. We did truck pulls. We did like a PT test and everything. So it was like everybody was participating in different events, and we mopped the floor with everybody else. We took first place, I think 7 out of the 11 events, and then the remaining ones we tied for second place or got second place on them. And so we wound up getting an off-post overnight pass for that. And like I said, it was 4 weeks into basic training. That never happened, or not basic, AIT. And so it was like none of the other classes that had ever happened. So that was an awesome reward for that. And I was very blessed. I was lucky. I was selected for the Hotel 8 school immediately after AIT. And for a mechanic, Hotel 8 recovery is like the holy grail for us, because that's the identifier to have as a mechanic. It's like you're going to be the wrecker operator, and that's, I don't know, to me and a lot of my friends, that was like the most desired position to have, is being on the recovery crews. So I got there, did Hotel 8, and got to Fort Campbell, my first duty station. Wound up getting to Campbell with 2 of my buddies from AIT. One of them was actually in my unit, and the other one, I won't hold him against him, but he was in the Ruckasons. Yeah, I gotta throw jabs. I was Bastogne, so I gotta throw jabs there. Bastogne, first 3-2-7.
Shots fired, man. Shots fired.
What's up?
Shots fired. At the end of the day, we're 101st. So it's like what is it, that brother-sister rivalry, the inner branch rivalries that we have, but at the end of the day, we're gonna have each other's back regardless if anything goes down. And I will say Fort Campbell, out of all the combat brigades that I was in throughout my career, Fort Campbell, I think, had the best mentality in that everybody trained infantry tactics. Mm-hmm. We did convoy live fires. We did reflexive fire. I was doing room clearing with a 249.
Nice.
So, yeah, live fire shoot houses with a 249. That was, like, this is what people sign up in the Army for. Is like, I'm going to shoot guns and do crazy shit. And Fort Campbell delivered.
Makes a cool video.
Yeah, for sure. It was phenomenal. Everybody could shoot. Everybody knew communications. Everybody knew the drills. And week of the Eagle, where they have the competitions there at Campbell. And then it's kind of similar, like the best soldier or best warrior competitions that they have. And we were out there freaking as support units, toe to toe with our infantry guys. And you don't see that in a lot of units. I didn't see that when I was with Big Red 1. I didn't see that when I was with a CAD, because for some reason they don't have that mentality. It was like, hey, let's train all our guys on combat operations, because you never know when we're going to need them.
Yeah.
But so I did. Go ahead, Doc.
So you took me back in time with your story. Being a Master Sergeant. I know you'll get this, Joe. You'll get this because you're E5 or so, like me. The military showed you a lot of things not to do. At the same time, that E1 to E5 period, you can really grow up, become a man, and learn good leadership see good leadership so that you can emulate good leadership.
Yep.
And, E60, 78, you're moving up to the other side of things, but it's that base ground E1 to E5 sergeant, hospital corps or second class, that zone is what really will either make you or break you for your future military career as a good or bad leader. But definitely, the story of you being proud of some things that you accomplished with your buds and your, I remember them building us up and E1 to E2 and then you make E3 and then you study and now you're in E4 and you're learning and being a better leader. Now you got people you've got to care for and blah, blah, blah. And then it's just, so you reminded me of that. And they were really, at least my journey, it was I saw a lot of great leadership and it really helped me be a good E5,
Yeah.
Anyway, so thank you for that, man, for real.
Yeah.
And the other thing was, in boot camp, you're either going to be smart or strong.
Yeah, facts.
See, I was both because I was dumb first, and then I got smart and strong.
You reminded me of that too, because I remember them saying that. You said you were being dumb and you had to pay for it.
Oh yeah, I learned real quick. It's like I might be able to take them on, but it's not worth it.
Mine started out as being a smart ass, then I got strong, and that made me smart. So yeah, that's how it worked for me.
I guarantee you, if I was ever to run into any of my drill sergeants, I still remember their names. It was a drill sergeant Fred. He was the primary, like the head drill sergeant. Drill sergeant Coates, who was like, I guess every basic training has like the token drill sergeant with Tourette's. That was drill sergeant Coates. And then we had drill sergeant Steele. It was a female drill sergeant, which was like back when they were first starting to bring in female drill sergeants. And I'm gonna tell you right now, drill sergeant Steele was the scariest fucking drill sergeant out of everybody. I'm telling you, like, I would mouth off to drill sergeant Coates. I would mouth off to drill sergeant Fred. I would mouth off to the drill sergeants from the other platoons. But drill sergeant Steele, I'm like, Roger, drill sergeant. Nope. And she was tiny. She was a little tiny little drill sergeant. But nope. I was not going to push that envelope.
Good leader.
Yeah.
She commanded presence.
Yeah.
Not to say the other two didn't, but it was on another level. And
it's amazing what pain will do to you, right? Yeah, those I'm telling you, when they're like
fear
that.
Of pain.
One of my drills was really tiny. I say tiny, he's probably 5'2", 5'3". To me, I'm 5'10", and so anybody smaller than me is tiny, right? I get to say that, and so, but he would hurt you. He would hurt you not only mentally but physically, break you, and with a smile on his face, calm, cool, collected, never raised his voice, just destroy you if you pissed him off. It was great. Yeah.
You guys called it.
Always kept his composure. Yeah, man.
They'll smoke the piss out of you. Especially it works because when it's cold outside, you start steaming up. Because
Gotcha. We call it mashing. Mashing.
Mashing. That too.
Make a sailor hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Mash.
Yeah.
Make a sailor hurt. Nice. I get it.
It works.
Either smart or strong.
Mm-hmm. That couldn't be more true. I promise.
Yeah. So Felipe, you had to go overseas.
Yep. I went overseas with Fort Campbell with first 327. We were in Ahawija, Iraq, FOB McHenry. At the same time, we also had FOB Gaines Mill, which we wound up turning over to the Iraqi military. We had a MIT team at the time, which was essentially the predecessor to the SFATs. I don't know if you guys are familiar with those. I don't know what the acronym stands for, MIT. It was MITT. But essentially, they were just training the foreign militaries. And so I got selected for 3 months to be with those guys. I was there. I would double as a gunner, a dismount, a freaking driver, or I would be in my wrecker, depending on like what mission we had going on. I would do that. Gaines Mill was also like a retrans location, and it was in between if you're going from Al-Hawija, McHenry to a FOB Warrior in Kirkuk. So we were kind of like a midpoint. And if anybody got blown up, I had conics of parts and tools They would stop in. I would fix up their vehicles. They would get hot chow because they would give us enough food to feed like a full-size fob for that reason. And so they would come in, they would eat. I would fix up their trucks and send them on their way. Or I would go recover them and bring them back, fix them up and send them on their way. So I did that for 3 months. And honestly, I think it was the major that I worked for. God, I can't remember his name right now. He was the only Hispanic member of the team because it was a major, 4 captains, a staff sergeant, and an E5, and I was a PFC at the time. And I guess he put in a good word with my first sergeant commander that as soon as I was done my 3 months with him, I got early promoted to specialist.
So then you're E4 on your first tour over?
Yep. So it was like right around my 18th month mark in the military. From when I joined, I made E4. I can't say enough about the leadership I had there. I'm still friends with my very first squad leader.
That's cool.
He was a solid wall of support, mentorship, training. I learned so much from him that it was great because it helped me advance, but it sucked because everybody else knew that I had all this knowledge, so I had a lot of work. I had it got to the point, one of my closest friends, wound up calling him my brother. He was in one of the infantry companies, and it got to the point where his entire company would only come to me to fix their trucks damn near. So all the other mechanics, they'd have nothing going on. I'd have a line of trucks out the door. But they took great care of me. They would get me snacks. They would get me food, energy drinks, Gatorades, smokes. And it's like, so my infantry guys took phenomenal care of me when I was in the shop, when I was not on missions or doing whatever.
They're always good about that. Nobody ever talks about how giving the infantry folk are, the people they care about.
Yep.
I'm telling you, they did that with me too. As Doc, man, they just do things for you. And you're like, what's this for? And they're like, just because you're Doc, man. You know,
well, I think
that was all it was. And
I think those who have to
they're very
sacrifice
giving,
the most,
very giving individuals,
have more appreciation for support.
Yep. And
no offense to nobody.
I would
I'm saying,
agree.
like, if you're in the heat of things, man, and you're appreciative for salt on your table, you're appreciative of your doc for sure. You know.
Oh yeah, no, I was very, very blessed with really good friends when I was there at Campbell. And sadly, we lost a lot of good people that deployment, but it's what happens in those scenarios. Unfortunately, that's the downside of defending freedom, I guess, is there is blood, sweat, and tears that goes into it.
Yeah.
Well, you know, bro, I am sorry for your loss individually, man. And I feel that too. You know, every time I hear about losing brothers and sisters, and from a person like yourself that was there, you know, and has the loss, I feel that, and it's my loss too, man. So I want you to understand that, man. I feel for you for that.
Yeah, they made a monument with the names of everybody that was lost during that deployment. And sadly, it took me almost my entire career to get my courage to just go over there and just sit down and talk to them. It was right before I retired. It was my last Thanksgiving. My son was stationed over there at Fort Campbell. And we went over there for Thanksgiving, and I took a day to go. Finally, I'm like, hey, I cannot retire without coming and sitting down and paying my respects to these guys. And I had to go to my old battalion headquarters. And fortunately, Fort Campbell hasn't changed much to where I was still able to find it. My old motor pool is still there. My company building is still there. The barracks are still there. And like my battalion and brigade are still there, and like in the exact same spots, because a lot of the units move around. And so I had to have them tell me where the monument was, because I figured it'd be in our footprint, and it wasn't. It was on the Ruckason side of the base. And I went over there and I cried. I talked. I sat there and contemplated. It felt like just a weight had been lifted off my soul, that I finally was able to go, make myself finally go and everything. And lo and behold, as soon as I'm leaving, two of my old soldiers called me up just to check on, see how I was doing, just randomly, like on a 3-way call, just to see how I was doing. And I don't know, it's like when you have those kind of friends that just instinctively know, it's like, hey, let me give this guy a call, see how he's
It
doing.
was a random call, right?
It was just random. Yeah.
Oh, man, that's crazy.
They were my soldiers when I was in Big Red 1 many years ago, and we still talk. They're some of my closest friends, family to me. And so they called me when I was feeling very vulnerable, and it was great. Like I talked to them and I told them what happened and everything. So it was good. But moving on from that,
Yeah, that was just your first tour.
yeah, that was just my first tour. My second tour, I got to Fort Hood. What is it? Back when it was Fort Hood, Battalion Avenue, and Fort Hood Street before they changed anything. Now it's Legends Way, TJ Mills, and Bernie McGate. I don't fucking know, and Port Cavazos, but that's unrelated. But so I got there. They had just torn up the roads that we were PTing on, and I wound up jacking on my foot. And this was well ahead of our planned deployment. It was I was with an MLRS unit. I was 121 Field Artillery, Charlie Battery, and I was their MST. It was the maintenance support team. We actually had to get interviewed to be part of these teams because we were actually embedded with the FA unit. We weren't part of the FSC. So on paper, we were part of the FSC, but everything we did, all admin, leave, awards, passes, everything went through our Charlie Battery, our Field Artillery Battery. And so the first sergeant that we had, the commander, the XO that we had there, our platoon sergeants, most of our platoon sergeants, there was one I didn't see eye to eye with. Phenomenal leaders. Great guys. Sadly, that's when I jacked up my foot and I wound up, they wouldn't do surgery. They're like, sorry, you're considered missionally essential. Here's a cane. Have fun 15 months in Iraq. So that was interesting. That deployment, we did 3 months at the Buka detainment facility. And if anybody's been to Buka, they know what I'm talking about, where they got little gravel about that big, especially where the compounds are. And we were in charge of the red compounds, and we would escort the detainees. It was called an MFRIC board, if I remember correctly. It was like, I guess, a parole review board kind of thing, where they would just pretty much try to figure out if they knew anything and see if they were willing to change or if they were going to give up their ways of, like, the terroristic ways and be rehabilitated or not. So these are the guys that are still actively trying to kill you. And so I had to full battle rattle escort these guys through that tiny gravel with my jacked up foot. And I had to leave the cane behind because you can't show weakness. So those were long shifts, but it was pretty good. There was funny times there. What is it? I can't remember. I want to say it was a reserve unit or a National Guard unit that worked the compound in front of us, and it was a green compound. And they forgot to lock the gate. And so the detainees came out, stole their water, knocked on the door and said, hey, you left the gate open, and went back in. Well, we were watching the whole time because they're like, well, they're not trying to escape. We'll just let it happen. So they got their water stolen.
They should have at least given you one of those 007 that's actually a shotgun with like 8 rounds in that bitch. You know what I'm saying?
Oh no, we carried our M4s. We had like the what is it, OC spray and batons and shit. But
you used to talk about weakness. Like, yeah, here's my weakness, bro.
Yeah, it's like we were watching this shit happen, and it's like, and they were inside on their phones in their little office, just lollygagging, not doing shit. But fortunately, it was like nothing bad happened. None of them tried to escape because we were watching them. But
right.
We were watching them steal their water. And then so we did 3 months there. Then we did 9 months with the British in Basra. And I got suckered during church to become the Eucharistic minister for the time I was there. I'm Catholic. And so I was like, I went to the Sunday service and everything. And it was pretty much the only break I would get from work was going to church. And the priest, he was from the British Army. He was an Irish guy. And it's like, all right, cool. It's like, hey, it was like the first service I had gone to. We had just gotten there to Basra. He's like, hey, I need someone to help me out with the service because my Eucharistic minister just returned back to England, his home country, wherever. And I'm like, yeah, sure, I can help you out. I was like, what do you need me to do and whatnot? And so he tells me how to do the setup, like when to pour the wine, like how to hand it to people and what to say when they're getting the Eucharist and whatnot. And so we went through the Sunday service. There was like maybe 10 people there. This guy poured an entire bottle of wine into 2 goblets. And literally, if I don't know, I'm not going to assume what religion anybody is, but if you've been to a Catholic service, when they give you the little bread, the body of Christ, and then the wine, the blood of Christ, no one drinks from the cup. You just like wet your lips or at the most take a teeny tiny sip.
Yeah.
So this thing was still
flavor only.
Yeah, it's like still a half a bottle of wine in this goblet. And I'm turning around. It's like, all right, see you next week, Father, and everything. Have a good one. He's like, whoa, where are you going? I'm like, to work. And he's like, well, you can't leave yet. I'm like, you got to do something about this. And I'm like, what? I cleaned up all the stuff. Like, I put everything back where it goes and whatnot. He's like, no. That's sacramental wine. Like, it's like, you can't just leave it there. I'm like, well, then here you go. Like, you have
fill your body with the blood of Christ.
Yeah, and he's like, no, you don't understand. You're my minister. You would have to drink this wine. And so he literally bullied me into drinking that wine.
I bet.
Hard, but so I get back to work smelling like alcohol, and I got to explain myself to my squad leader and to my first sergeant command. I come back freaking stumbling because I just chugged half a bottle of wine, and they were cool with it because it's like, okay, you're doing it for the church, but
for the church
sucked because you had like 2 or 3 services a day, and so it's like, oh god, that's a lot of wine.
Yeah, it is.
Like, whew.
That's funny.
So I had a blast there. Then we did those 9 months, and then 3 months, the final 3 months of our deployment, we went to Camp Delta, and so those last 3 months I spent mainly in the gym with my buddies. We as mechanics, we didn't really have a job because the other field artillery company that was there was doing all the maintenance. The only downside to my first and second deployment was all the action that was going on and all that, especially my first deployment. I know I came back not right in the head. I was extremely aggressive. I was very volatile, just verbally violent, like always standoffish. Like you couldn't say or do anything around me, and I would just explode for no reason. And that was when I came back from my second deployment. I started spiraling back. Like my PTSD, my anger, everything was just horrible. And it still hurts me to this day, like remembering how I was back then. It's devastating. But I recently
deployment 2, right?
Yes, deployment 2 was it started affecting me after my first deployment, but deployment 2 was when it was like just overboard. And I got my orders to PCS to leave Fort Hood and to go to Fort Knox. That's when I went to Big Red 1. I'm packing the truck and I'm not paying attention. My wife's putting boxes to the side of the truck. And my father-in-law had come to help us pack up the house to move. And they're putting boxes to the side. And I'm putting everything in the truck, not thinking anything of it. And finally, I'm done loading the truck. And there's just a stack of boxes on the side. I'm like, hey, are we going to put these in the truck? And my wife's like, no. I'm like, why not? She's like, because I'm not going with you. She was going to take the kids and let me go to Fort Knox on my own. And that's when I realized I had a problem. I broke down. I started crying, sobbing, begging her to give me another chance. And essentially she's like, you need help. You need to talk to somebody. It's like, the kids are terrified of you. They're scared. They can't be around you. It's like, because you just blow up. They're like, just blow up for every little thing. Like they breathe wrong around you and you blow up. And so what I told her is like, I promise I'm going to get help. I promise. I got there to Fort Knox. While I was in processing, I'm like, I need help. I need to talk to somebody. I need to do something. It's like for my behavioral health. It's like my marriage, my life is hanging by a thread. And it's like, if I don't get better, my wife's going to leave me. And God bless my wife. Everything that she's put up through, like in my career, she's got to have like the strongest freaking soul of anybody I know for everything that we've gone through together. So I went through my behavioral health therapy, seeing a counselor, psychiatrist. And at first, they gave me these pills, and they're like, "This is what you need." I was like, "Take these pills." And it's like what we were talking before, Joe. And it's like, I became a zombie. I became a fucking zombie at work. I'll take these pills. I'd be at work. I'd be sitting in my chair in the motor pool, drooling at myself. And I'm like, I can't do this. And we were already like with Big Red 1, they were giving us orders like, hey, we're going to deploy like within a few months. I'm like, I can't deploy like this. So I stopped taking the pills against the doctor's orders and everything. And I kept going through my therapy, like talking about my anger, what triggered my anger, what triggered my PTSD, what triggered my anxiety, is like all like trying to figure out the root cause, and then trying to figure out what I can do to circumvent those issues and how I can redirect my thought process instead of getting angry about everything, to try to analyze why it made me angry so I can respond appropriately and not just out of anger be like, hey, it's like, okay, so this is why I felt mad. This is why I got worked up. And it's like, and 95% of the time, the problem was me. And so fortunately, like my therapist that I was talking to, civilian provider, she helped me out. She got me back on track. She got me like thinking right without the pills. She got me to where I could manage my PTSD, manage my anger. Now, I'm not going to say it's gone. I'd be lying. But like that anger is still there. It's something I feel like I'm probably never going to get rid of. But I know how to address it now and everything. Didn't help that at that time I had probably the most toxic.
Redirect.
Yeah, that's definitely redirect my anger into productive, healthy outlets.
Right.
Well, right now, out of 100 times, that you really want to lose your shit, how many times do you actually do now?
maybe 1 or 2 times out of 100.
That's great. That's great odds, baby. That's 98% good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna let the majority of the times was because of something at work. So it's like like I haven't legit lost my shit like with anything dealing with my family other than once. I'll get to that one. That was I think I was justified in that time that I lost my shit, although I did go overboard. I will admit I definitely went overboard and lost my shit.
Oh. Well, I'll tell you what, we're about halfway through, Felipe.
Okay.
Why don't we take a break? We will help some other veterans by supporting them. And we get back, let's talk about 2 deployments and your new life at home and what your plans are. Sound cool? All right, man. I can't wait. Hey, y'all. Hot Rod Wally here. Finally, a revolutionary nutrient line that puts the needs of you and your plants first. Easy to use, forgiving, tweakable, versatile, and clean. Utopic Essential Nutrients blends only the most refined raw materials, the perfect blend of plant hormones derived from kelp, along with silica and humates, makes Utopic a powerhouse plant food. From commercial industrial growers down to our beloved hobbyists. Come discover our truth at www.utopicessentialnutrients.com. Come get them. And we're back. Back with Felipe and Joe. We're talking about 4 deployments. And Felipe's recent release from the military, retired, and what his plans are for the future.
All righty. So deployment 3 and 4 were both with Big Red 1 when I was there. I was at Knox for 5 years. I stood them up because they were originally at Hood, and they moved the whole unit to Fort Knox, and then I deactivated them after those 5 years. It was Duke Brigade, the actual, at least from my understanding, is like the most decorated like combat brigade. The ones that
Wow.
we can actually wear the red 1 combat patch was 1st Brigade. Yeah, 3rd Brigade. Sorry. Yeah, 3-1, 3rd Brigade. Sorry, throat's getting dry. So that 3rd deployment, we went to a lovely little place in Afghanistan. My first time in Afghanistan, called Rocket City, Salerno, and that place was a trip because we were in a valley surrounded by mountains, and it was a blackout fob because the fob magically moved at night, and so we didn't want the enemy to give away our positions with flashlights.
Right.
Like they set up their rockets and mortars during the day on a timer to go off at night. So it's like that was I could never wrap my head around that rule. What is it? I started off doing sling loads there at the crisp yard. That's actually a funny story about that.
Yeah, I know.
Because they saw my Fort Campbell patch, my combat patch, and they automatically assumed that I was either air assault or slick qualified.
Right.
And I was neither, because I was only at Campbell long enough to train up for the deployment and to PCS when I got back. So I never went to air assault or airborne or anything in my career. But they just assumed that I knew how to do sling loads. So the first thing I do when I get over there to that area, to that shop, I read through the manuals. I'm like, all right, shit, how do I do this? And I'm asking around, and I taught myself how to do sling loads. I was there for a hot minute doing that. And everything was said and done. They're like, hey, we need you back in the motor pool now. It's like, cool. He's like, you're going to be in charge of services. So I'm heading out to the motor pool, and they're like, hey, before we leave, we need your certificate for sling loads. I'm like, what certificate? He's like, you're not slick qualified? I'm like, nope. It's like, oh, shit. It's like, well, it's like, did any of my loads fail? It's like, no. All right, then don't worry about it. We're good. Just say got lost. What's up?
For the Navy and the Coast Guard, what's a sling load?
Oh, okay. Good point.
Navy should know. Navy does sling loads. Freaking.
Well, Doc don't know. I don't know about the rest of the Navy.
Oh, sling loads is when you got a helicopter, usually a Chinook. They come down. They're hovering over some piece of cargo, and you got 2 long ass ropes that you got to put on these hooks on the moving helicopter, and then you have to jump off before they leave with you, because half of those pilots are dicks, and they will take off while you're on top of the load.
Yeah,
I was sling loaded. They took me off my ship by helo. I was out in the Persian Gulf. I didn't know I was sling loaded.
Yeah.
They took me off the ship by helo.
There it is.
Donut.
Yeah,
You know, you put your arms in a donut, just hold on like that.
Yeah, you were a sling load cargo. There you go.
Oh, a sling load cargo. All right, now.
Hell yeah, Doc.
Go ahead.
But yeah, no, like, Jesus. Fortunately, the prop wash kind of like cushioned your landing. And so it's like, you just jump off of whatever load you're at, doesn't matter how high it is. That prop wash will carry you to safety. But you just got to remember, you better be sprinting in the air, because if not, as soon as you land, you're going to fucking tumble. And I'm not a little guy. Me in full battle rattle, getting tossed around like a freaking ragdoll from the prop wash. So it's not a fun job for little guys.
Yeah, you might be big, but you ain't helicopter big. You know what I'm saying?
No.
3 points of contact, man. Got to have those points of contact if you're a little guy, man. Otherwise, you are going to places you don't want to be. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's shit. I almost went to places I didn't want to go on a freaking fuel limit.
Yeah. Good times.
So 3rd deployment. What's your rank by this time? E5, E6?
So I'm 85 actually, right before my 2nd deployment.
Oh, okay. So
what is it? 1 April 2008, April Fool's Day. So I didn't believe them when they said I made the list. But so yeah, I made E5, and then like 2 weeks later, I was in Iraq with my own squad.
Okay.
And so my 3rd deployment, I was still an E5.
Damn.
Yeah, because I
Man.
couldn't realistically go to the board because I hadn't done the surgery, and you couldn't be promotable on a temporary profile, and they wouldn't give me a permanent profile because it could be corrected by surgery. So I still had that issue. It's
Yeah.
and whatnot. But what is it? So after I was done with the sling loads, I went back to the motor pool, became working on the services, and I got a system going, and it was running good. My warrant officer came to me, and he decided that he wanted to have like pretty much my maintenance program and fly me out to these different like fobs and like cops, like just remote areas with no real maintenance being done, and pretty much bring them a maintenance program, a pre-built program for them to use. So I had all the forms that I used on digits on a CD and printed out copies. I put like all the TNs of all the equipment that we had there in Afghanistan on CDs, so they can have access to the TNs, the technical manuals, to order parts and troubleshoot and whatnot. And he just flew me out to different places, and I flew on some of the sketchiest birds. I flew in a green Colombian helicopter. I will remember till the day I die that I was there with my Gerber because it looked like screws were falling off in mid-flight. I've never been so safe in a combat zone than in that helicopter. It was like getting shot at, like freaking rockets and more in, landing danger close. No, that pucker factor was freaking the screws rattling out of that damn Colombian helicopter. But so yeah, that I did that for. Go ahead.
No, so you got back from your third deployment. Your wife is now with you, right?
Yes, and
yeah,
she stayed with me.
Thank
What's it called? She was still my rock, and we talked a lot. Like every chance I would get, I would call home.
Yeah.
And so my fourth deployment wasn't supposed to happen. I was my Sergeant Major's last board before he retired, and because we got back from Afghanistan, and I got to go to the promotion board for E6, and so I was his last promotion board. And to this day, I firmly believe that he gave me that board, because as soon as I walked in, he started calling me a future staff sergeant, and then when it was my turn to leave. Is usually the first sergeant and the sergeant major deliberate to see whether they want you to promote or not. And he was like, "Hey, congratulations on passing the board, future staff sergeant." He's like, "Just go ahead and wait outside with everybody else until we're done." And like the first sergeants kind of looked at each other and was like, "Well, I guess we don't got a say in this."
Nice.
But so
no, you don't.
Yeah, that was
not today.
Nope.
Yeah. I don't know, Sergeant Major Angelucci. It's hands down one of my favorite sergeant majors that I've had.
So you made staff, which is 6, right? E6?
Yes.
Then you went to your 4th deployment?
Yes. Yeah, so that deployment was actually very rewarding for me, and it was also tragic for me. Rewarding in I was like a mid-team, not a mid-team, an SFAT. And so I actually got hand selected to be the maintenance supervisor. Some major that I met at a random FTX that I was providing support to. I was doing their gate guard for that FTX, and I didn't like their SOP. I didn't like the way they were doing things. I'm like, this isn't going to work in a real combat zone. You guys are teaching the guys wrong. I was using my knowledge that I gained at Campbell and my first deployment, working ECPs. Where it's like, hey, this doesn't work. You got to set it up like this and that. And so that major, he was in one of the S shops. I can't remember, to be honest. And he came out to the ECP and we just started talking, and he was asking me why, like my opinions, like why I had said what I said about the entry and like the way that we were handling the control and everything. And so we had a good conversation well into the night. And while I was at AOC, which was our mandatory school for staff sergeant, I get a call. It's like, hey, it's like, you got selected to be part of this SFAT. That major was the one that picked me to be the maintenance supervisor for that mission. And so that mission, I was training the Afghan mechanics, like from their private on up to their freaking captain and like the battalion commander and first sergeant and everybody. Like everybody that had anything to do with maintenance in that Afghan military, they were getting trained by me for that 9-month deployment there to Afghanistan.
That's a big deal, man.
Yeah, and
There'll be kids in Afghanistan right now that were trained by fathers that were trained by you.
Yep. That's awesome.
And when it was time to leave, the company commander for that maintenance company was trying to convince me to marry his daughter and stay in Afghanistan. And I'm like, bro, it's like, I'm already married. Like, I have a wife. And he's like, no, it's okay. In Afghanistan, you can have many wives, as many as you want. I'm like, in America, we can only have one. And he's like, don't worry, you bring her, we'll fix. I'm like, I'm married to a Mexican woman. There is no fix. She'll fix you. And he's looking at me and he's like, Mexican women are scary.
Yeah. They just don't know. Those guys don't know.
Yeah, they don't know what they're getting into.
Yeah.
You don't mess with a lad woman.
Bless their heart.
Yeah. But yeah, so that I said it was very rewarding because I got a lot of recognition for the work that I did. I actually got a coin from the RC South Commander, I think, 3-star general coin I got for the work I was doing. What is it? 6 months into the deployment, a lot of the people got sent back, and our mission was reduced, and so I became the team first sergeant as a staff sergeant. So that was pretty awesome. So I led the team for the last 3 months as the senior NCO. But I say it was also a tragic deployment for me because that's the only time I've ever lost someone under me. We had a green on blue incident that deployment. Granted, it's like I was detached from my unit. So at the time, he wasn't my soldier, but at the end of the day, I still trained him up before that deployment, and he was one of my soldiers, and he lost his life there because we had Afghan nationals helping man the towers, and that day that he was out working on one of his vehicles, they decided to turn on us and ambush him. And so that's, to this day, that's the biggest weight that I carried from the military was that one soldier.
Yeah.
But fortunately, he was loved by everybody in our unit. He was a great guy, great soldier. So there was a lot of support there for the family and everything when we got back. After that, I didn't do any more combat deployments. I went to Fort Rucker for a while. I was over there in the TAOG, the only force comm unit there. Had a good time for a year. And I went to ROTC at Corpus Christi, Texas A&M, Islanders. What's it called? We had one of our cadets. It was a blast. I look outside my window and I can see the Gulf.
Oh man.
Yeah. So I'd go fishing for lunch. I'd stay there, fish after work. It was beautiful. Had one of my cadets commissioned and stay on as a gold bar recruiter. And between me and him together over that summer, we broke the record for how many the freshman class that we had. I think we had over like 40 or 50 cadets for the freshman class, which was the highest we ever seen, that program had ever seen. So that was pretty cool. And that's also when I made 7. So I went to the board while I was there and made 7. What's it called? Well, I got my sequence number for 7. But at the time I was contemplating getting out the Army. And the day the list comes out, because it took 3 months for that list to come out finally.
Yeah.
Because it kept getting pushed back from like the day it was supposed to be released, it got pushed back 3 times. And the freaking cadet command retention NCO calls me. He's like, first off, congratulations. Second off, when are you going in def? Because that's the only way you're promoting. I'm like, shit. It's like, give me a day to think about it. Talk to the wife. And we decided to, let's go for it. Go re-enlist. Might as well go in def. I was like at the 10, 11 year mark. I can't remember, give or take. And so I'm like, yeah, sure, fine. I'll go in def. And man, you would not believe the bonus I got. I got a coffee cup. I got a backpack. I got a flag coin. Yeah, and no money. Yeah, that was no in-depth bonus for us.
Yeah.
what is it? From
They
there,
went all out for you, man.
Yeah.
they held nothing back. What's it called? Finished up there. I went to the cab over here at Fort Hood, and I worked my way up to being the brigade maintenance control sergeant, working in the SPO. What's it called? I did a rotation to Kuwait and a rotation to Korea out of there. The non-combat, that's I don't count those as deployments. Those were just peacekeeping rotations to me.
Hardship tours, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it wasn't bad. And then Korea was freaking at Camp Humphreys. Like, there's no hardship at Humphreys. You got everything you want right outside the gate at the Ville. And then a lot of stuff that you don't want. What's it called? From there, I did my one and only overseas assignment to Korea. And that was an amazing assignment. I was actually the battalion sergeant major for one of 7 pre-position stocks in the entire military. So that's half in Korea and half in Japan. We had like a BCT with tanks and brads and everything. It's changed up now. There's different equipment, different layout. And then in Japan, we had bridging assets and watercraft. So if anything happened in the Pacific over there, PACOM area, we are covered. It's like you send soldiers and we got all the equipment ready to go. Just at boots kind of thing. So that was an awesome assignment. I freaking loved it, especially when we had to do the battlefield circulations all around Korea and Japan to check on our gear. And then came back to finish off my career here at Fort Hood again. Fort Cavazos with the ADA unit. I think the proudest moment I had in the military was getting to serve in the same unit as my son. My oldest son and my middle son are also veterans. They did about 5-6 years each. And they both made it to E5 sergeant. So that was phenomenal.
Hell yeah.
So I was working at brigade and my son was in one of our battalions. So that was pretty cool. I'd go see him sometimes throughout the day, and he would come up with me.
That's wild.
Yeah, it was. I think that was probably my proudest time in the military, was having my son there.
Rightfully so, man. Rightfully so.
What is it? I retired this past December, and oh shoot, I completely glossed over something. I know I mentioned that about my anger, that I lost my shit with my family. So it was when I was working at Fort Rucker, Alabama. I get a phone call that no father wants to hear. My high school senior had gotten his girlfriend pregnant. And at the time, I was a geobat. My wife was in Texas. I was in Alabama. And when I saw that,
you were stationed as a bachelor, even though you had family. Yeah.
Yep. So, and that's the one time I majorly lost my shit after everything. All my therapy was with my son when he got his girlfriend pregnant. But of course, like any dad, it finally goes away, and we welcomed her into our home, and preceded by my first beautiful granddaughter. Years later, this last year, almost a year ago, my middle son blessed us with my second granddaughter. And they both, fortunately for me and my wife, they wanted to come home. And we're lucky enough to have a home to accommodate them. So now I have my oldest son and my granddaughter, my middle son and my granddaughter, and their respective wives living with us. And
well, you certainly reacted different on the second one than you did the first one, Grandpa. I mean, you learned some lessons on the first one, did you, brother?
Well, the difference was almost 7.5 years difference. So he was no longer in high school.
Well, we did some learning. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He learned something, and I learned something.
All right, so you retired. You did, dude. Thank you for 20, man. Thank you for doing 20. I did 9, and I was getting ready to re-up, and at the same time I was having trouble with my first marriage. I was going off to a school that was gonna be so hard. I was scared. you know, and so I chickened out a little and had my first baby girl at the same time. My last, I thought was my last child, and I got out to bust my ass in the civilian world. Uh, and once you do 9 or 10, man, you can't say the last 10 are quick.
Right.
Yeah.
That's 10 more years, a decade
Yeah.
of your life serving, and then increased responsibility every couple years. You're gaining rank, and now you got more guys, and you got more stuff, and
Yep.
you know, it has to be a better leader and a more wise leader. And then, bam, you're out. Here you are. Now what?
And
Now what?
that now what I feel is the biggest killer, because I lost my now what. I lost my identity. I lost my reasoning. I lost my direction. I wasn't training anybody. I wasn't leading anybody. I wasn't mentoring or motivating anybody. I had nobody to do that with. I had no, like, other than family. Well, let me rephrase it. Other than being with my family, I didn't have my sense of purpose. It's like I don't get up to go to work. I don't get up to do this. I don't, like, what am I going to do with myself now?
Right.
And my identity was like, well, these past 20 years I've been a leader. These past 20 years I've been a mentor. This past 20 years I've been guidance. I've been an example of what to do and what not to do, because my career wasn't perfect. And, like, I'm not perfect as a person. But it's like I had, once again, an extremely loving and supporting wife, and she did everything that she could, and she's doing everything that she can for me, and can't ask for more. But I was lost. I was really lost, because I'm like, well, what am I gonna do now? And I'm not gonna lie, I started sleeping in till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. I started just overeating. I started, like, my half of the room just looked like a hoarder's nightmare with just boxes and, like, stuff and everything. I stopped going to the gym.
No direction. No direction.
No direction. No, like, I was applying for jobs, and I got really excited because I thought I was going to get one job, working, managing an ER. And it was like, because of my supervisory experience, I did the interview, and they sounded like really hopeful that they might have hired me and everything. So I got my hopes up. I was like excited. I was like, I'm gonna get this job, and it didn't happen. And I guess that was like, I give up kind of thing point, and I stopped. I essentially, like, less than a month after retiring, I stopped living. I was just literally in bed on my phone, away from everybody, just wasting away. And then, out of curiosity, I started looking. I had heard a couple of my buddies that would told me about cannabis and everything, CBD and stuff like that. So I started browsing Facebook, and I came across Vets Grow for Vets. And I'm like, cool. It was like, you got to be a member to post and everything. It's only like, you got to be a veteran or like somehow affiliated with the veteran community. I'm like, I'm a retiree. I guess that counts. And I joined. And almost immediately, Rachel reaches out to me. He's like, hey, welcome to the community. He's like, blah, blah, blah. He's like, I need to verify you're a veteran. I'm like, yeah, sure. So I sent her like a blurred out picture of my retiree ID, just so she can see that it's like me and that I'm an actual vet. And immediately, hey, welcome to the group, blah, blah, blah. It's like, what's your experience with cannabis? I'm like, none. Medically, none. that was all before the military, I might add. Not during or whatever. But and so she starts telling me about this, and she starts putting me in contact with people and everything. And then I started feeling really welcome and comfortable in the group. And I'm like, well, shit. I went out and I bought some CBD gummies to try them out and everything. I started becoming active in the groups, and it got to the point where I felt like the groups is almost like a second family. It was like someone that you know you can reach out and talk to, someone that you know is going to be there for you if you need someone to talk to. And I got to meet great mentors like yourself, Doc and Joe. And honestly, Joe, you're the reason I started working on myself again. I actually, well, I'm not going to turn off my screen filter, but please take my word for it. I cleaned up like my side of the room. You can see my cat.
I believe
You can take my word for it over there. But it's like I can see my floor.
Yeah,
my cat,
man. You know, so
bed back is like my computer desk. I can actually use my computer desk. I had so much shit on my computer desk that I couldn't like put my hands on it. And as I started going to the gym again, granted, I don't go every day. I've been going like every other day. Trying to eat a little better and everything. And honestly, I think like starting the CBD gummies is a great start for me. Is I know I've mentioned it to both of you before, like in our chats, but I was having just wild, crazy dreams. And the vast majority of my dreams at that time, before I started, had something to do with killing, with violence, with fighting, just bizarre shit.
Turmoil.
Yeah. And it was just, even when I would sleep through the night, because I got to use my freaking Darth Vader mask every fucking day. Thank you, armpits.
Yeah, thanks, Iraq.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, I'm glad the gas prices went down because of that. Well,
yeah.
But yeah, no.
That's a whole nother episode, brother.
Yeah. But yeah, so I started taking, excuse me, the gummies, and I can actually sleep through the night without freaking just psycho fucking dreams. So that's awesome. And then when my pain gets really bad, because really bad back spasms I got, along with my massive list of freaking shit that's wrong with me, it's like my back is just there's no way to describe it other than it's fucked. It's like there's different levels of fucked, and I think I'm like at the lower middle of fucked. I'm not completely like FUBAR, but it's like
I'm at the capital F fucked.
Yeah.
It
was like
uppercase.
And my wife's been real supportive because she had told me, it's like, hey, why don't you try like the CBD gummies and see if they help. And so I started off with like the daytime ones, I guess I would call them, and started off with half a gummy. And I'm like, okay, they are, what is it, 50 milligrams each? So I guess 25 milligrams, give or take. And it was like, it's not really doing anything for me. So I started taking the whole gummy, and I've noticed my back spasms are less frequent. Shooting pains down my leg is less frequent. Freaking, sadly, the stabbing in the knees still feels the same, but like a lot of the stiffness in my neck from the bone spurs and degeneration and everything, that pinching on the nerves, that's calmed down. And definitely with like the sleep ones, it's being able to sleep and dream what I think normal dreams should be, not just psycho freaking sleep paralysis demon freaking trying to strangle you and shit. But
maybe we get you some Pico, you'll start dreaming about that Mexican wife you got, brother. Instead of the bad dreams, have some good dreams. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What's really cool is that you've fallen in at such a time.
Yeah.
And to just to take the initiative to do a little clicking and find some Facebook groups and to just be open to checking things out has now took you to the very first stage of your healing process. Well, you're not done, and Joe, I don't know what your plans are, but with Felipe to help him move to a new level with either microdosing or FICO or or RSO or whatever it is, whatever concoction and combination to make him even more functionable, which gives him more reason to be doing it, which gives him more pride, which keeps him fucking motivated. He gets his calendar out, he does his day, he takes care of his kids, he does this, he does that.
Yeah.
And I know that from my wife. It's so hard to do, so hard to function when you're always fucking hurting, you know? It takes all the fun out of everything.
Yeah. And that's so that there's a couple of things that, you know, I have in mind, and I believe just from listening to Felipe talk, purpose, and, you know, and getting this whole idea on what couldn't be further from the truth. All right. You have so much opportunities to still be that leader and still give out that knowledge to all of the soldiers out there, man. Okay. Period. And so along with purpose, man, we'll mess with cannabis, man, in different ways, different doses, different things, different strains, man, we'll get you right, but it's going to take you some time, and, you know, and you ain't got nothing but it, brother. And I'm right here with you.
You ain't gone nowhere. You're still right here, bro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, you still possess all that stuff, brother. And so we need that, you know, insight, that professionalism that you had, man. We still need that leadership. You know, a lot of these soldiers need that guidance, and to, you know, to look up to a leader, obviously, is something that we all had to do as soldiers. And, you know, in my most vulnerable times, what did I do? I looked up to the leaders, right?
Mm-hmm.
If that's not a mission, man, I don't know what isn't, you know. Peace.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know where you're staying at, but if we can get him some, we can get him some plant therapy, you know, just one.
Yep. We're going to learn. We're going to learn all that kind of therapy too. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, it's going to be a good thing, man.
Facebook groups have helped you get there, man. Facebook groups pulled you in before you got too far down. Like, you're not 15 years after getting out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I'm lucky.
You just saved yourself years of nonsense with the VA and opioids and spiraling downward. You just saved yourself by your own initiative to go check it out.
Exactly. And, you know, I kind of see the opportunity, and I think Rod does too, the opportunity to get you this information before your head gets filled with, you know, whatever they want you to do.
Yeah,
just
nonsense.
You know, it's just an option. And so as long as you know what all of your options are, you can make a better informed decision on your path forward of healing, man.
Yeah, well, if 50 milligrams does it, imagine 75, bro.
You bet.
Get rid of the pain so you can function better. You have a better attitude. You're not always so,
then you get the full spectrum, you know, not just the CBD, you know, you get all of the cannabinoids. That's really going to make you, well, you're going to start blossoming. I promise.
You'll dream better.
Yeah. Yep. You know, your thoughts will be positive, which is key. You know, I mean, I can wake up in the morning and have just absolute negative thoughts, and it ruins my whole day. You know, but if you can wake up and stay positive, man, you have a better chance of getting something done during the day and feeling like you accomplished something. And just like you always had for those 20 years, right? You accomplished something every damn day, didn't you?
Yep.
Yeah.
So we'll get you back to doing that again, man.
Yeah. Have you ever woken up with your spouse in a bad mood? Nothing you did or nothing. Just doesn't it? Don't you feel the same feeling? It kind of falls on you. You kind of take on that same feeling, and your whole day's like, fuck. You know? That's what pain is like 24 hours a day. Just that constant on you.
It'll drag you down.
Yeah. So I'm glad for this, man.
Yeah.
I'm glad for this.
Yeah, man.
So
we'll get you motivated, man.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
No, I was just going to say, we'll get you motivated. You're already there. We just needed to get you to understand that we're all rooting for you, brother. And I know your family is, man.
And you're the perfect example of how just trying a little bit of cannabis and having your open mind about it, you know, the gateway drug. Okay, tell that to the Parkinson's patients, you know.
Yeah.
It's a gateway to what? Not shaking anymore. Okay, cool.
Right.
You know, so I look forward to seeing your journey.
Yeah.
I would really love for you to be like our first re-guest. You know,
Yeah, man.
Oh, yeah.
let's do 90 days of researching and being a part of the community and feeling the love, and let us help you find some better things to get rid of more pain, get your head clear. And some, didn't you have some goals you were talking about, brother? You looking for a master's degree or some shit like that?
Yeah, I'm hoping putting in my application for Baylor so I can try to do my MBA there.
Oh, you can't do that hurting. We got to get you good.
Yeah.
You're a sick call with Doc, bro. Right?
Hell yeah.
There for you then and here for you now. Any other good stuff, guys? We get through it?
I think we did, man.
All right. I want to thank everybody who has continued to love on us, follow us, like us, share us. We appreciate it so much. Felipe, man, thank you for your courage. Thank you for coming on. Joe, you know it.
Hell yeah,
And,
man.
until next time, everybody, thank you very much for being with us, man. Take care.
Be good, y'all.
Bye.